Nice big gum tree. And it makes bloody good firewood. How you doing? Community, community, community. Psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, lots of different people, psych teams, all there to pick up the bits and pieces of us humans when we fall to bits, which happens quite regularly these days in our society around us, more and more, particularly when we talk about things like anxiety, depression, suicide, and it's getting worse and worse. There's an epidemic right now of suicide. New Zealand, Australia, it's shocking. What I want to say is all the stuff that's there to put in place is a bit like calling the ambulance after the accident. I feel, in fact, I know that community plays probably the biggest role in trying to put right when things go wrong. So if someone has a bad upbringing, they're abused when they're young, or there's neglect, or there's anything that goes wrong that causes trauma, community around them is what's going to save them, and the right sort of community. So if you're someone who's suffering in anything at all, whether it's a psychotic problem or a mood disorder or any health, physical, emotional, mental, having community around you that's like-minded, that's supporting and carrying you makes a world of difference. The environment around us has such a massive effect on us, and this has been taken right into science. You get a little petri dish and you grow a culture in it. What scientists discover, and Bruce Lipton's a really good scientist to check out on this, he's the guy that worked with the genome and stem cell research, did a lot on that. What they found is by putting different stuff in the dish, that affected what they put in it. So the environment around it would change how it would grow, and it's exactly the same for us. If you're hanging out with 5 people that are all of criminal mind and they're into robbing and doing bad stuff, you'll become the 6th. If you hang out with 5 people into healthy eating and good sports and really, really empathetic and caring, you will become like that too. You'll become the 6th that's like that. That's why I think that prisons are a bit stupid, because what are you doing? You're taking a bloke that's done one stupid thing, putting him with a bunch of criminals, and what's he going to become while he's in there? I don't know much about the prison system, but I work with a lot of guys that have come out, and they tell me a similar thing, that, well, I connected up with this bloke and that's how I ended up back in prison. We did something naughty. Come on, Pace. Bruno, come. Walk down here and carry on talking to you while I've got my dogs with me. Heat up. Bruno, come. Where's that big dog? Come on, Bruno. So what you need to do is change your community around you if you're struggling with stuff and not getting the support that you need. Easier said than done. You've got to start taking responsibility for your own wellness, whatever it is. And whilst you're doing that, it can be almost impossible because you're actually unwell, and it's a time like that you don't feel like reaching out and talking to anybody because your negative brain tells you it's not going to help. But of course, as soon as you get in that environment, it does help, it changes. And this is what we find all the time with the young guys that I work with. I'll have 4 or 5 of them, 4 of them being the boys and the 5th one being the other adult that I'll take, because generally I'll take another adult out. And we see them change their whole demeanour as the day goes on. If they are taking drugs, and there's one guy I had a while back who's no helping him really from my point of view, because he continually wanted to keep taking drugs, and continually that was playing havoc and separating him from the rest of the group. So you have to remove the drugs, you have to remove the alcohol, you have to remove the chemicals that are imbalancing the brain. And this is easier said than done again. And this is where professionals that work with the likes of Narcotic Anonymous, groups like that, or people that have the tools. I certainly don't. But we need to try to encourage our brothers to become drug-free, particularly if they're under 25 years of age, because the frontal lobe is still developing, and at that stage there, it's critical that people don't take drugs and alcohol. Most of the young people that come unstuck, there's often a correlation with drugs and alcohol. It's just so damaging because the brain is still developing, it's still growing neuro pathways and making its way, just like growing a muscle. But what's happening is it's been absolutely stuffed up by these chemicals, and that's what it is. There's a bunch of chemicals going on there. So if you're watching this and you're under 25 and you're partaking in drugs or alcohol, which you probably are because a great percentage do, just understand that the best thing you can do for your entire life is to be drug and alcohol free until you get up to, say, the age of 25. We're in a culture where it's just so accepted as the norm, and yeah, get a drink in you and all that, but the damage it does and the people that get lost along the way, it's just not bloody worth it. If I could go back in time, if I could turn the wheels back, I would have chosen to be drug and alcohol free myself when I was younger, but I wasn't. That aside, anything's fixable, and the plasticity of the human brain is an amazing thing. You know, it takes about 12 years to get your lungs healed from smoking. 12 years. That's amazing, isn't it? They can be okay after 12 years, and I've seen this with ex-smokers, and it's a bit different though with a developing brain, because that's its one chance to develop. So you start doing those drugs and alcohol, then you've got catch up to do. So if you stop smoking marijuana, which has got all sorts of negative effects in a developing brain, that's science, that's not just me. I'm not against the marijuana, there's a place for it, and it's for pain control. CBD oil is great, but if you're a developing mind and you're using that there THC to get a high, your IQ's lowered by up to 12%. Think of that. That's science. You can look it up. And it's not only that, it's all the other things that you don't deal with. A lot of young people use it just to suppress negative, bad feelings rather than deal with them. And then the consequences down the track is they don't deal with them and they come back and bite them on the arse. So, go hard now. Deal with the shit you're going to deal with. Easier later on. Take the easy road now. It's going to be hard later on. And I know adults, plenty of adults, that struggle just to be in society because they've all the way through every problem of their life. Get them in a situation where they're working with a team of people and they just can't hold it together. They don't know how to relate because socially they've become retarded. They won't admit this to themselves. They'll, put their head in the sand like an ostrich, and they're like, nah. This comes back to what I started with this video. Community, community, community. We all need to have the right community around us. I belong to the hunting and fishing community. I love my brothers in the hunting and fishing community because we all share a common thing, and that is we like to go out and harvest our food, cook it, give it to the people we love, share it with our loved ones, eat it ourselves. We enjoy the aspect of gathering it, hunting it, fishing it, preparing it. And so there's a like-minded community that I feel very strong about and that have been a huge support for me. But your community might be something else. You might be into the arts. You might be a musician. You might be a person who just has dogs and belong to a club where you breed Dogo Argentinos. Good luck doing that in New Zealand. But whatever your community is, it's important to have one that's going to have a positive influence on how you're feeling. Now, there's negative communities too. A lot of guys join up with gangs. Personally, I'm not against gangs. I've been in a gang myself when I was younger. Well, actually, hung out with a gang, not been in a gang, and there were some positives, but there was also a lot of negatives. So if you're in a gang, just look around and say, what are the brothers doing that's good? You'll know in yourself, you've got conscience, you can tell. And if you can see a lot of good, then hang in there. But if you can see a lot of criminal activity and people being hurt and a lack of empathy and a lack of compassion and a lack of caring, ask yourself, is this what you want your life to become? Because it will. You'll become like that person. And there's something we also said about standing up in this world and being a leader when you're in a situation with a lot of people and speaking your truth. If something doesn't resonate and saying, hey guys, I don't like this. Now if you're in a gang that's doing criminal stuff and there's something that doesn't resonate with you, say you see a woman get hit. Hey guys, I don't believe in hitting women. You'll be challenging them and you might come unstuck. You might get a hiding, you might get beaten up, or it just might be that they actually look up to you because you're not being a sheep. Because every body of people needs someone that's respected and that leads them. And in gangs, you don't just become a leader straight away. And I've seen guys stand up in a gang I used to hang out with, and it wasn't pretty. But I tell you what, he's no longer in that gang, and he's a bloke all these years later I still hang out with. Pace, get in here! Pace, get in! Pace, come here! Get up! Get in! Where did you think you were going then, eh? What were you going to do? Eh? There's old Chitty Chitty Bang Bang going down the road. He's a bastard for chasing cars. That's the thing about doing a live vlog like this. But check out that car. That's my old landlord's car, Murray. Yes, before I got interrupted from that vehicle coming down the road, Alan, and you're probably watching this, mate, a lot of respect for you, bro. I watched him stand up against 3 guys once. He didn't so much get a hiding as he got ostracised and called all sorts of names, and eventually he pulled away from that group of men, but I still to this day respect him, and the other guys have faded away into nothingness. In fact, truth be known, a lot of those guys aren't even alive today because they chose the wrong road. So choose your community carefully, and when you're feeling that life is difficult, reach out to your community. Doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, all those people, I feel, need to include community a lot more in the wellness of us men. I'm talking about men here, I'm not talking about women. I'll leave that to someone else to talk about because I don't know anything about women, or not much. I think it takes a man a whole lifetime to learn about what women are and what women do. These are only my thoughts, speaking off the top, not necessarily correct, only what I have found to work with people and helping people. I've got quite a number of people now I'm starting to work with again, and you'll see this in either of my channels, whether it's Clay Tall Stories or the Broadchick Club. But we'll see that in community, strength grows and problems get solved, problems get shared, and people just feel better. We're not meant to be alone. It's not the nature of us humans. We didn't evolve to just be solitary. I'll finish up by saying there's a poem. It goes something like, "No man is an island." And what it gets down to is that when we lose one man, he dies, then the rest of us are worse off. When one man pulls away, it's like a piece breaking off the continent. The continent gets smaller. We all need each other. We rely on each other. Community, community, community. That's it today. Go steady. See you later.